my grandparents were farmers, field workers, and even food vendors who've had to sell their food to strangers in order to be able to feed their own families. Hence, their children became the only affordable employees in this gradually insidious business. In this epoch in Mexico, schools were secondary. Survival was first. Needless to say, education has never been a family asset. When something is too far, it's almost impossible to grasp it without a helping hand. With that said, moms and pops were both sixth grade dropouts from the educational leaking faucet. But instead of swirling down the drain, they managed to fall in a glass that was half full of courage, dignity, and determination, never letting their lack of reading, writing words, and letters fetter nor hinder them from living a better life together for the well-being of themselves and their children. They migrated from Mexico like birds flying, trying to find and endeavor a place with better weather. In essence, they came here to the U.S. by nature, where my mom became a home carer, while Dad found a niche as a produce clerk, which was near yet far from tedious farm labor. However, we could not escape the danger as supposedly lower class people society threw us in the ghetto, where schools are like whatever. Here's what I remember. A class full of energetic Latino, African American, and other ethnics being implemented to sit quiet, be still, and have some ethic. Contorted faces, lungs ticking, bodies shaking. It just never felt normal. School wasn't teaching us. It felt more like cultural and intellectual torture. No one in my family exemplified how school would give me further purpose. Anglo female teachers talking constant English only made me feel more nervous. Mama fearing community crime and violence, keeping me caged in like a young lion. Not knowing what success meant, she desperately wanted me to go to school and not fail. But then school felt like a cage as well. It was like I went from cell to cell. Sit up, line up, shut up, you're worthless, move along. My school was poor like us. They had no sports, no clubs to boost my self-esteem or to expand my creativity on. On top of that, it felt like by speaking my language and being lively like my culture is, I was doing something wrong. Intimidated by the unfamiliar subjects and teachers, hence I only did my work to avoid getting called upon. The lessons are all a blur. The thing I most remember is being quiet and insecure. When called on, my lips would literally tremble so much I couldn't even speak. It was during my latter years of high school that I began to finally find a voice. See, an after-school program provided me, and my community provided me the venue to unleash my cry for change and suppress noise that was inside of me through the arts, music, and through spirituality. This was my haven from losing my vitality to the drain of education and the chains of our twisted society. Thankfully, my poetry kept me interested in words and letters. And if it wasn't for that in-school program AVID, I would have probably never graduated or gotten through. Thanks to them, I got accepted to several CSUs, but I felt like I could no longer afford school, pun intended. It felt like it was sucking the life out of me, giving me such a narrow mindset about society. A year later, I returned in attempts to make a career out of my artistic skills to community college. It was hard at first, but then I found Puente, and then after that I got hooked on when I learned about the Chicano movement, which reaffirmed that I was not the problem. The problem was the racist institution put together most likely by elitists, whose main objective has always been to delete us. from existence, but our experienced souls have resisted. And so they will never defeat us. This inaccurate educational system mainly encourages us to take orders, sit right, listen, and be silent. But our souls crave and only know the opposite, to move forward, to stand up, speak loud, and to enlighten. That's why we always get excited and find a need to call upon the police siren. We aren't crooks, though. We're just highly misunderstood, yo. Because we come from a long line of tribal community artists, musicians, and oral tradition. And so we never felt the power of books, yo. And no matter how hard you try, we will never will. I don't mean to discredit or say that books are not effective. I'm saying put yourself in my perspective. My parents and my parents' parents have never read a book, and they probably never will. You know how glad it would make any student feel to hear that we won't be using books in this class? That we will be learning from each other, acknowledging that we as individuals, what we as individuals have to offer. Finally, I strongly believe that by relying solely on books and technology nowadays, we are losing contact, communication, compassion, spirituality, and thus even trust in humanity.